health tip, eat whatever you want, but just have one meal that day.
Sacrifice and service are two important words, and without them, many people will be left behind. There are many families within the UK who can't afford school clothing for their young children. However, there's an amazing charity that are addressing that problem. My next guest is doing amazing work within the community by addressing this problem. So please welcome the phenomenal, the love-inspired Monica Dunbar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And how are you?
Having me.
You're welcome. And how are you?
I'm very well today, thank you.
Yeah. So I mentioned two words.
Yeah.
Love inspired.
Absolutely, yes.
Can you tell me why I mentioned those two words and why I've got you on the show?
Okay, so I believe I was invited on the show today to talk about the Love Inspired Foundation.
Yeah.
And I'll just go back to your intro there with the word sacrifice. In particularly, and without the sacrifice of the works and the volunteers and the work we do, you're right in saying many families would be left behind.
Yeah. So your charity is called Love Inspired.
It is indeed, yes. Yeah. It's called the Love Inspire Foundation.
Love Inspired Foundation.
That's correct, yeah.
And can you tell us what the Love Inspired Foundation does?
Yeah, I certainly can. So the Love Inspire Foundation was founded in June 2015. It was taken actual name from an ongoing concern called the Love Inspire Music, which is a family business. We're in the sound business. So we used, because it was such a phenomenal name to be honest, and described what we wanted to do with the charity to a T. So we kept that name and we developed the Love Inspire Foundation. Now, the actual service we offer was founded as a result of a family in Burton-on-Trent coming to me and asking if I knew anybody who could help them with school uniform.
Yeah.
They were new to the area, they had no recourse to public funds, and they had 4+ children who needed uniform for the September, beginning of the September term. And so I put a little thing on social media, and at the very best, I'd hope that a few people would come in and help them with school uniform for their children. However, what happened then is that we had hundreds and hundreds of donations and lots of people from the community, including professionals and teachers, retired teachers, coming to us and saying, this is fantastic, we've worked with the families, we work with the families who need this, and we'd like to donate. And so the Love Inspire Foundation was founded.
And for me, it's quite amazing that there are people out there that need help, because in your day-to-day life, most people don't realise this, that there are families struggling out there.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure, like, them coming to you, how did it feel for them coming to you and saying, oh, we're in this dire situation?
Yeah. Personally, I didn't realise that we were just scratching the surface of the problem.
Yeah.
I thought, yes, there must be several. I have 6 children myself, so I'm aware of how difficult it is to purchase uniform, especially when they go to academies or senior schools. It's not so bad when they're the younger children in primary, although we do and have had requests for children from the younger age group. But as I say, I'm aware as a mother of how difficult it can be to fund school uniform at any one time. So I thought, yeah, there are probably about 20 families in the whole of East Staffordshire who struggle, and boy was I wrong, because it's just evolved and grown, and the amount of referrals we've had year in, year out is just, it's quite sad actually, but we're glad that we've developed the service and we're able to help them. And how we...
Sorry, do you have a number around how much referrals you've had?
We do. Since 2015, we've actually clothed 220 children.
220 children. That's amazing work, yeah. And that allows 220 children to get the education that they need
Absolutely.
and the necessities. Education is important.
Yes.
So 220 lives you've changed around for the better. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as we all know, when we go to school, it's important in that environment and to learn from a very early age that, you know, how you dress and how you look, how you present yourself is really important. You feel good, especially at the beginning of the term. You know, everybody's hopeful and looking forward to their first day. And the last thing we want for our families, and especially for our children, is to be turning up to school in uniform that's not adequate, in shoes that have got holes in clothing that clearly haven't been washed, or holes or shuffled. And unfortunately, those kind of children do get bullied and they do feel isolated and very low. So we developed this service so that every single child can turn up to school and be at school and not have to worry about not having the right uniform and just get on with their education.
I suppose, as you mentioned before, as all those donations came in from previous teachers and professionals,
That's right.
I'm sure that inspired you to create what you've created now. What was that feeling like in the moment when you were inspired to start this charity?
I was quite overwhelmed, to be honest, because at the time I was running my own business. I was in the market hall in Burton running a Caribbean business, and I think that's how they found me, because I was in a central point within Burton, and thankfully there was a unit next door that was empty, and I quickly realised I was running out of space. And we acquired that space next door, and people were able to come in and still maintain their dignity, because that's the other thing. You know, you don't want to embarrass anybody by them coming to ask for uniform. So I was able to get that space and accommodate them. But I was overwhelmed initially and thought, oh gosh, what have I started here? I've opened up a can of worms. But it quickly became apparent to me that this was a need. It was a real big need, and that not just in Burton-on-Trent either. In fact, we had referrals from Derby, from Leicester, from South Derbyshire, and I think this is something that will be mirrored and has been mirrored, according to press and the media all over the UK. So from an inspirational point of view, yes, I was extremely inspired to just continue to build the service and to eventually be able to offer a crisis prevention service, which is what we offer now.
Okay, a crisis prevention service.
That's right.
Okay, can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, as I say, we started with the school uniform, and then one of our trustees suggested interview clothing, and so we mapped that, we put that out there to see if there was a need for interview clothing. And again, like the school uniform, the Jobs Centre approached us and several other employers and said, yeah, we often get people turning up who, you know, the first impression counts. They've obviously not been able to buy a suit or an outfit for that interview. And so we run a library system where, again, people donate smart clothing so that people who are going to jobs can come and hire an outfit for that day for their job interview, and then return it to us and tell us if they've got the job, how it got on, and if there's anything we can do in the future to ensure that they get a better opportunity of getting the job that they need. So we now, we've evolved and we've grown, and we registered the charity in January 2017 with the Charity Commission. So we're a registered charity, which led on to an overarching ethos, really, that we have aims and objectives, which is to prevent a crisis. So whilst a lot of charities will offer what we do in clothing and food and fuel poverty, we do that initially, but our main aim as a charity, and perhaps our unique selling point, if you like, is to prevent that from escalating, to prevent that from happening again and again, month in, month out, year in, year out, and to sort of offer an opportunity to a family to sort of get out of that, get out of that rut.
So, a unique thing about your charity, instead of just addressing the symptoms, you wanted to get down right into the source.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many families we meet that are food bank dependent, which means they regularly go to food banks. And my background professionally, I worked for the YMCA and managed the YMCA here in Burton for a considerable number of years. So I worked and saw the other end, where you're crisis management all the time, you're fixing the problem because the crisis is constant. And I really wanted to come back into the community and into community work and offer another model of prevention. So yes, whilst we will help, we will give school uniform, we will give food, we will refer and signpost, what we really want to do is sit down with the client, with the individual, and say, okay, why does this keep happening? Let's get down to the root of the problem. Let's break down the barriers. Let's give you the opportunities that you need to actually achieve within your family.
So the Love Inspired Foundation offers sort of like a mentoring or life coaching as well.
It does. It does. It offers. It's sort of a hand-holding charity and service where we regularly review the barriers to stop it. That's stopping people going into work, going back into education. That's stopping people from putting food on their table. And it takes a long time to break that cycle, and we're very lucky to have volunteers and professionals on board who will stay with that person through thick and thin. So whether they're having a good day, whether they're having a low day, whatever the issue is, whatever is being dealt with at that time, we'll work through that, and then we'll revisit and say, okay, let's have a look at your journey travelled, let's have a look at what inspires you, what allows you, and we'll push you to get out of bed in the morning. What is your thing? What's your gift? What's your skill? And a lot of our people, because they've been stuck in that rut for so long, have forgotten what makes them tick. And it's our job as a charity to just revive that and inspire them to go for it.
Yeah, and break them out of the habit.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's important to have someone to shoulder on, so to speak, someone to talk to, because a lot of us in this modern age, even though we're connected more through social media,
That's right.
a lot of people do feel much more lonely, like in households, it may be the parent or the single parent is looking after their children, they're doing the best, but sometimes no one's looking after them, and it's sometimes we need someone to speak to help deal with our problems and break out of that habit.
Absolutely.
And just to ask you, you said 220 referrals.
Yes.
Is that just the 220 that you're talking about? Was that just the school children, or was it school children and professional clothing? Was it?
No, that's just the school uniform. So the 220 to date to the school uniform, and we run that every half term. For professional clothing, for interviews, we've probably had much less of referrals. However, we have had a local business company approach us to say they would not only provide the interview clothing, but also provide mock interviews for people going to work. So we're about to open. Yeah, it's fantastic, and we're hoping that a lot more businesses locally will come on board with us with that. One of the issues and one of the barriers that we faced is not having a base. So since 2015, we've been working in the community and meeting people where they're at, meeting them at cafes, meeting them in places like this place that we're interviewing in, Confessions. And we've lacked the ability to be able to set up a base. However, we've recently acquired a base, and we open in March of this year, which is amazing.
Okay, that's wonderful. And do you have the whereabouts of that base now?
We can't, no, I'm not able to disclose that yet. It's still in negotiation, but we've been given the keys in faith, which means we can distribute our winter clothing from next week. So we've got volunteers waiting in the wings to assist us doing that, and we'll have a pre-launch. And then an official launch, which I'm sure you'll be invited to.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to it, and you're doing amazing work, shall I say, and to have someone there for families to provide clothing is definitely a great benefit. And as well with interviewing, it's like a lot of people want to get out there and interview, but they feel as though like not having that clothing to go to interview.
That's right.
It's just another hindrance, and that's just a blocking there.
Yeah.
And it's great. Are you looking to expand? I know you said there are probably mirror companies, charities, UK-wide, but are you looking to expand Because from where I'm from, there's nothing that I've heard about it in my city.
Yeah, we spent a couple of years in our infancy mapping a need, because having come out of the community sector, the third sector, and working for as long as I did, I wanted to be sure that we were going to be focusing and reaching those that were most in need, and not just duplicating the service that was already there. So we spent a lot of time travelling around, in and around the East Midlands, to see if there was any such service, and we didn't find one, certainly not one that's primarily focused on prevention and distribution at the same time. So yes, we've developed a model now that we can go out and do in any large city or town. It can be mirrored anywhere, and it's quite easy to adopt, so we're quite proud. And yeah, once we've set up and established properly in Burton, then there's no reason why we can't take it out to the cities and you know, all the major cities within the UK.
Okay.
It's an exciting time.
I hope to see you UK-wide, because I believe there's many people who you can touch and help out there.
Thank you.
That's brilliant. So where can we find your charity?
Okay, so the Love Inspire Foundation is on all social media platforms. We have a Love Inspire page on our Facebook, and a lot of our details and launches. For instance, I have to get this in. We launched our first campaign for this year, which is called Wear Red for Love. So it starts on the 1st of February to the 28th of February, and we're asking businesses, companies, individuals, the community to get on board and wear something red for love throughout February. Obviously February is the month for love, with it being Valentine's on the 14th, but we've extended that and we said let's do love throughout the whole of February. And you register through ourselves, so you can contact our email. Details are on our Love Inspire Foundation site on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Snapchat. And you register, and the minimum amount we're asking people to raise is £25. So whether that's an individual or group, you can do cake sales, you can wear something red to work, and just get all your colleagues involved, and you'd be helping to fund the Crisis Prevention and Distribution Centre. It's amazing.
Thank you. And before we move on to the next topic, how would you define love?
Love?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I'm glad you touched on that, because what I didn't mention was that I was brought up in an environment where everything was about love, unconditional love, and love from a place. My parents are Pentecostal Christians, I'm a Pentecostal Christian, so I've been fortunate and blessed enough to be brought up in an environment where I had extended family. So I was very much loved by my parents and my siblings, and so that love sort of was quite a natural thing for me. You know, I'd grown up in an environment where we went to church 7 days a week, and everybody was mum, everybody was auntie, everybody was uncle, everybody was brother and sister. So you automatically just felt that love and that respect for them, and if they weren't clothing you, they were feeding you. You know, if I wasn't eating soup at my house, I was around the corner at my godmother's. It was also the mother of the church, eating food around there, and everybody just showed love. So, and I know that I'm very aware that not every family and everybody has the same background, and so for me it's quite easy to show that kind of unconditional love. We're also lucky to have people on board in Love Inspire Foundation who have sort of harnessed that kind of, like I say, that kind of ethos, where if you don't give up on a person and you show them consistent and unconditional love, even if that's sometimes tough love, then they recognise that and they respect that, and eventually there will be a shift. So for me, love means to stay with a person, to be present with them, to allow them to feel that actually it doesn't matter if you mess up 10,000 times, we're still going to be there. You might get a few telling off, or you might get directed in another way, but actually we still believe in you and you can still do this. And at some point I've worked with hundreds of young people, hundreds of people in my community, and I've never, to this day, and I'm 48, come across anybody who doesn't actually eventually have a shift in their direction of life through showing them love.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you for breaking that down first, yeah. That's food for thought, definitely, how you define love. So, another thing about you is that you have another business.
I do.
But before we talk about that, you have the Love Inspired Foundation. You used to work for the YMCA.
I did, yes.
And you told us through your definition of love, like how you grew up and your background.
Yes.
Could you tell us like the steps you took to be where you are now, to be an entrepreneur with a charity, with a business?
Okay.
How was your life journey? What was the significant thing for you that made you want to do these things, to reach out to other people and make people feel love inspired?
Okay. Let's go. I often get asked that, and I thought this might come up. My earliest memory, actually, of being loved and feeling loved was actually from my father.
Yeah.
So my father had me at the late age of 60, and he was a stay-at-home dad. Mum worked, unfortunately. He had ill health, so he stayed at home. And I must have been 18 months old, where I can remember my dad feeding me with a bottle and trying to make me laugh because he was pretending to drink my bottle in the other end. And I have a vivid memory of my dad doing that. And because he was a stay-at-home dad, he did all the things that perhaps naturally a mother would do.
Yeah.
That's very stereotypical, I know, but in those days, in the 70s, you know, it would probably be dad who would be working and mum would be at home. And so that inspired me. My entrepreneurial side actually came from spending time with my dad, because my dad was way ahead of his time. He'd have his own businesses back home in Jamaica and came to the UK with the intention of doing the same thing, but unfortunately the opportunity was never given to him, neither were the finances.
Yeah.
So I spent my entire teenage years looking through business papers, watching the news, talking about business ventures with my dad, and talking how we could have our own nightclub. We'd watch Opportunity Knocks together, which is the equivalent of X Factor today. I'm showing my age now, definitely. And you know, he was just a really wise man. If you can imagine, he was in his 70s, late 70s, when I was a teenager. So to be schooled by somebody of that age who's lived and seen a lot,
yeah.
I just really absorbed it all, and I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't until I left, and my first job opportunity was with Norman's Limited, which is a music company. I went for work experience at 16 there, and it was a whole new world, because I was brought up in quite, you class it as a disadvantaged area of the town. And they were having champagne breakfasts, they had a helicopter landing on their pad in their front yard, they fly over to some exotic place, you know, every other day. They had the latest Jaguar, and I was like, oh, okay, this is how the other half lives, right? But they weren't snobby with it. They were so down to earth, and I realised actually, if you work hard enough and you apply yourself, and this is really the key thing, is recognising what you're good at. So there's no use sort of running after a thing and trying to pursue something that is just not your bag. That's not what you're put on the earth to do. So it's identifying what feeds your soul. And for me, it was business, it was being around people, it was serving people. So as I got older, I always gravitated towards those things that fed my soul and fed other people as well, in the sense of, you know, serving them and making them feel good.
Yeah. So that led you on to your business that you have now, which is a Caribbean business.
It is. I am a Caribbean caterer. It's a family business. It's called Datties Soul Food, and it was named after my mum, who sadly passed in 2015. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I run Datties Soul Food with my family in Burton-on-Trent with Caribbean caterers. We have several eateries, or we have had, but we now are mobile caterers. And so we do corporate, and the bigger the event, the better. I'll switch up now and start talking Patois.
So, what's your signature dish?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Gosh, where can I start? I can only base that on what the food that we get asked for the most, which is our saltfish fritters. Saltfish fritters is the one, especially with our homemade coleslaw on top. So it's like hard-day bread, saltfish fritter topped with homemade slaw. to die for. But we get asked for everything. I quite much every black family, as you know, has their own little thing, has their own little secret, and we have a few. The other thing is that as well as being traditional, so we do the curry goat, we do fried dumpling, jerk chicken, stewed chicken, everything else that is coming to be loved of Jamaican food. We also introduced some new recipes. So the vegan movement, we're very aware of a lot of people that have cut down or completely cut out chicken. So we developed a couple of dishes that are doing very well. One of them being our exotic veg curry, which is, I'm not going to tell you, but it's a really good dish and it sells well. We also do a range of pasta, and we do that with meat, or we do it with corn, and also other vegetables as well that's selling really well. So we have a range of pasta, 4 different dishes that we serve customers, and we've sampled and put out there, and people are just loving it.
Sounds great. I'm definitely going to have to try it.
Yeah, you definitely will.
Definitely soon.
Well, that's my cue to mention on the 28th. On the 28th of February of this month, we're in this building.
Yeah. And, what building is that?
So we're at the Trinity Confessions Cafe at the Trinity on George Street in Burton-on-Trent, and it will be 7 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. The bar will be open, and the event is called Come Dine with Datties.
Okay. So yeah, make sure you're there.
Please, yeah.
So you carry me, and you told me as well that you're still with the church. You do the gospel singing, and is that like a de-stressor? Could you say? It's good to be involved with the community, as you said, and like have a sort of network going, a social network. So gospel singing, what does that do for you?
Well, that's my escape. You know, you hit that right on the nail. Everybody has to have an escape, because when you're dealing with crisis on a daily basis, I get calls up to 11, 12 o'clock at night with people who are telling me that they're suicidal, or that they've had a breakdown in their relationship, or they're just so stressed, or they don't want to be here anymore. We have all kinds of different crises come our way. And every human being has to have an outlet, a turn to. And mine is definitely my faith. I wouldn't be able to do and achieve anything that I do on a daily basis if I didn't include God and ensure that God is in every detail. That's without a doubt. If I have been successful, then it's down to my faith and the fact that I can turn to God. And the singing is my outlet. That's what I've been doing since perhaps 4. I go to the same church that I was christened in, that my parents went to, which is the Triumphant Church of God on South Uxbridge Street, Burton-on-Trent. It's a wonderful church. It's evolving, it's welcoming, and we need a lot more young people. So please come and visit us. But I think I probably was about 11, 12, 13, and we'd always sang in the choir.
Yeah.
And on this occasion we had an event coming up, a gospel concert, and I was given a lead part, and I remember the song well, and I was like, no, because I always used to be really shy, and they gave me this part and it went really well, and I thought, gosh, I can do this, I actually enjoy doing this. And so I went on and we sang at home. I come from a singing family. My brother, my sister and I always used to sing. My dad was the equivalent to Simon Cowell on a Saturday night. We'd stand there with the Africomb, singing to him, bless him, and he'd critique it. And my nieces and nephews, they're all in the industry. And that's what I do. I do that to, again, glorify God in the first instance, and to bless people, and also to bless myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds yes, very good, very good. So in terms of singing, you would do to bless God, and God is important to you.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned earlier, if you to attribute your success, you attribute to your church and God.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to move on to my final question, or last 3 questions, and that is, what does success mean to you?
Success means, in the sense of each category then, for the Love Inspired Foundation, the success would be that people are able to access the service and to really understand and know and believe that there is a way out, You know, that there is hope, that there is a way of climbing back and getting back to where you really want to be in life, to achieve it. So that would be the success around that they access the service and that we're able to have positive outcomes and to assist people in moving forward. For Datties Soul Food, Datties Soul Food, and I'm putting it out there, will become a brand. It will be a household brand. So we're productizing our product at the moment. So we're going to package it. It's going to be in the supermarkets. We're developing a YouTube channel. So I'll be cooking with my youngest son, who is 8. And it's important for us to continue the culture so that our food never dies and that people are aware that Jamaican food is the best.
Have you started your YouTube channel?
I haven't, no. I've had a meeting with a videographer, and I've spoke to a few people about some ideas. It's something that myself and my family have been toying with for a while, and as I said, we're all in the music industry in one way or another. And so we're not averse to being in front of the camera. And we're going to have, well, I can't let out too much of what the channel's going to involve, but yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Okay, and definitely I'll have to check it out when it's up. You have to let me know.
Okay.
And finally, to you personally, what does success mean to you personally, on a personal level?
That's quite an easy one, because you get to a certain age and you think, okay, so have I achieved what I feel I was put on the earth to achieve? You know, have I honoured God? Have I done the job of Him that sent me, if you like? And for success for me means when God decides to take me from this earth, I need a moment to reflect and say, if I get the opportunity, you know, that I've done my best, that I've made a difference to at least one person, and that hopefully I've brought many souls to God's kingdom. That's success for me.
Thank you. That's a brilliant analogy of success.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking part in this interview. It's been very appreciated. You've given some great insights, and as we've heard, you've helped a lot of people, and hopefully you'll go on to help a lot more people and touch people with Love Inspired and touch people through their stomachs with Datties food. And would you like to say one last time where we can find your businesses, where we can find you?
Sure, so social media, the main one is Facebook, but we have got Instagram and Twitter accounts. You can find us, just Google Monica Dunbar, Google Datties Soul Food, Google Love Inspire Foundation, and we will pop up on that engine there, and there are telephone numbers. So for the Love Inspire Foundation, I'm not sure which camera I'm looking at, that one. For the Love Inspire Foundation, it's 0783 851 6607. That's the Love Inspire Foundation. For Datties Soul Food, and you're testing me now, it's 07500 561 744. That's 07500 561 744. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking part.
Health tip. Eat
Thank
whatever
you
you
for
want,
watching this
but
episode.
just have one meal that day.
Please, if you want to get involved with Love Inspired Foundation, please donate or get volunteer time.
Get a good sweet shot of that, the glistening. Hey, what's up? Jack Black here. Another episode of Jablinski Games.